to segment 4 of Cuss N Discuss on mental toughness. We have Steve Kutie, Dr. Nicole Detling, and Lia Coryell. So let's pick up where we left off on segment 3 when Steve asked a question about all or nothing.
All or nothing, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, with you being a world champion athlete and you doing a lot of Olympic athletes, do you find that it's pretty prevalent on that group being all or nothing? All right, because like to me, like we said in the previous episode, I mean that's why I never did drugs or tried any of that stuff, because I know that's how my personality is, right? And I know that I would be really good at it because I take that stuff seriously. You know what I mean? So I figured better to do it for good than for evil, right? So, but it does set it up for a lot of pitfalls, you know, and so I just didn't know if that's something that you run into a lot with those athletes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All or nothing.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I've just seen it. I don't know that
Yeah.
it's something that I struggle with, because there is grace in knowing that I'm not going to say someday, or I'm going to do all of this, or what. I don't have that opportunity. So for me, I'm not a black and white thinker. I'm not I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool or whatever. But I do see it in my teammates, and it's tragic.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
It definitely creates a lot of problems that way. But really, what's happening is if we can cultivate more of an all or something mindset,
Okay.
right? That would be so much healthier than the all or nothing. And you can even take this to people who are dieting or trying to lose weight, or, you know, just life, just performance. Yeah, just starting to exercise again. A lot of people are like, oh, I already screwed up the first meal of the day. Might as well just screw up the rest of the day and eat whatever I want. Where it's like, no, you just messed up one meal. Get back on track. Right? All or something is better than all or nothing. And so I think that all or nothing mentality is really sensationalized in a lot of ways. And we feel like we have to have that in order to achieve the really big things.
Yes.
But if you think about how you got to achieving the really big things, it wasn't through an all or nothing mentality, because no matter how good you are at what you do, you don't feel like doing it every single day at the same level or with the same level of intensity. Sometimes you take days off because that is part of what it takes to become a master at your craft, right? There are things that need to happen that wouldn't fit into the all or nothing mentality, but yet we still think we have to have that. But if you really look at how you've gotten to be successful in anything, in archery, in horse training, or biking, or all the hundreds of different athletes that I work with in different sports, it's really because they didn't do all or nothing. They did all or something.
Yep.
Or sorry. Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't a nothing kind of thing. So go for it, but recognize that some days something is better than nothing. Just do something.
Right.
And that's really how you make progress step by step by step.
That nothing part of all or nothing is the I'd rather quit than fail.
That's exactly right.
That's where that comes from.
Yep. Or fake an injury, because injuries are more socially acceptable.
Right.
Than
Or you had
losing,
an equipment failure
failing.
or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we always joke, right, on my end, is because, I mean, one, I'm not a quitter, right? I mean, obviously,
Right.
we talked about my hashtag, right? Hashtag too dumb to quit with 2 O's, so you don't look like a dummy, right? And, you know, but that whole, I just keep grinding through it, right? I mean, because
Right.
that's just what I do. And, you know, I mean, good, bad, like, but I'm not going to quit.
Embrace the sock.
Yeah.
And that's all or something.
Yeah,
Quitting is nothing. Right?
I guess.
Something is, well, you know what? Maybe it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Maybe I wasn't able to put forth as much effort as I could have. You're injured. You can't do the things that you would normally do. Does that mean you do nothing? Or are you doing something? It's just not what you would have considered doing had you not had the injury.
I'm just trying to look at, now I get to overeat and
There
do
you go.
way less.
There you
So,
go.
Oh, there you
now
go.
I'm just going to get fat. and then we'll,
Hey, if that's your
and then we'll
goal,
see.
man, you
Yeah,
go for it.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, with that now, you know, that coming into, like I say, right, the mental side of things with showing and doing, you know, yeah, I can see where it makes it easy to quit, right? But again, how do you get yourself rewired that you don't go down that path, right? Because it's like saying, I hate all people, right? Like I don't necessarily hate all people, right? And it's not always all or nothing,
Yeah.
you know, because you keep doing those things every day, because you've got to ride and you got to clean stalls and you feed and you do those things. But how do you not get sidetracked?
Well, sometimes things, and that's about having physical impairments, are out of our control. So Andre Shelby is he's a Navy vet on the team, and he won the Rio Paralympics. He shot 9 yards in his garage for months because he couldn't get out to a 50-meter target, and he won the gold medal. You know, when COVID hit, because I have an autoimmune disease, I did not see a human face for 3 months. I shot 9 feet in my apartment, like it's wore out. I'm sure I'm going to get billed for that. Yeah. To that target. I did a lot of visualizations. You know, we had to do the bullet list. If I can't do that, if not that, then what? You know, am I going to write about it? So that's why I became a coach. That's why I did online stuff. You know, there's it's not that. Sometimes the choices are taken away from you for whatever, you know, and by choices that you've made. You're now married, you now have children, you now have a mortgage, you know, you have other people depending on that, but you can still do something. So what is it going to be?
Right.
And do that bullet list. So when you're feeling like, I don't know what to do, go back to the bullet list, shoot 9 feet.
Right.
You know, 500 arrows at 9 feet every day.
Right.
Because it's not quitting. Right?
Right.
That's embracing the suck. That's the grind. That's the challenge. Because if it didn't challenge me, I'm like you, I wouldn't want to do it either.
Right.
Wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just got to do it, right?
Right. You just have
as
to,
Nike said, right? Just
yeah. It's not all or nothing. And the other thing we were talking about, how like you get so far behind and you feel like I'm never going to be there again. So in the last 2 Paralympic Games, well, actually, I've seen this quite a bit. So we have a ranking round, which is 72 arrows, and then they rank you by your score. And the top 2 people didn't make it past the 1/16. So Andre was like 14th, and he won the gold medal. And the same thing happened in Tokyo. Kevin was like 12th, and he won. When I won the world championships, I was ranked second to last.
Yeah, right.
Right? So somebody that didn't have that mindset, that warrior mindset, that I'm mentally tough, I'm like, okay. So I just kept shooting, you know, that's when I'm like, don't tell me if it's outside of the 8 ring, and I'm not going to look at the score. I'm just going to shoot each shot. And obviously it worked because boom, straight there. That's the only time I've been able to close the deal.
Yeah, right.
You know, otherwise I'm worried about, well, if he shot a 6, then I need to shoot an 8 and did it. Just shoot your shot, because once that arrow's gone, as long as you're shooting the arrows, they're gonna score. So
Yeah, I really believe that regardless of where you're starting, you can make progress toward where you want to be. There's no guarantee you're going to get to where you want to get to, but you can make progress toward that.
Right.
Or you can choose to just sit where you are. And you were talking about mediocrity before, and that's just kind of the state of the world. Keep doing what you're doing and keep being mediocre. And if you're happy with that, great.
Right.
But you can also do something just a little bit different to make some
Yes.
progress toward where you want to be. And even if that progress it's not a direct line, it's not a linear, we always want to start here and just go straight to there, but that's never the way it works out, right? It's like this. And so we take these moments where we're doing a little bit better and moments where we're doing a little bit worse. We take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and that's just the reality of life. But the question is, are you stuck in the suck? Right? Are you choosing that tragedy, or are you going to keep moving forward? Are you going to keep taking action? Are you going to do something to get you out of where you currently are?
Right.
And as long as you're doing that, that's all or something, right? That's moving in a direction that then you can say, hey, at least I did something. At least I tried. At least I put myself out there instead of just
Exactly. I
sitting
didn't quit.
and
Right.
waiting for life to happen to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and I'm going to happen to life, and I'm going to do what I can do to get where I want to be. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but at least you're doing something about that.
Well, let me ask you this then, talking about, psychology, right? Because that's what we're talking about, mental toughness and things. But do you think the mental toughness, like the gateway drug to that would be physical fitness? To a point, no?
No.
Because, but, you know, if it puts you in the right state of mind to be able to do those things, right?
the endorphins from
Okay.
that can definitely feed into moving forward because you feel good.
Yeah, because if you're sitting around doing nothing, then it's
Right.
easy to do nothing.
Right.
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 And, you know,
I think
if
it's
you're exercising or stretching, again, right. Yeah. Doing something semi-physical, right.
Physical,
That helps steer you down that path to good mental health. Right.
Okay.
Because I think, you know, again, we're talking about, you know, being hurt or, you know, injured or whatever it may be. It's too easy to have the self-pity part of it, right?
Yes.
And then you're not doing anything, and then
Right.
nothing ever
That's
gets
exactly
done,
what she
right?
said.
Whereas at least if you can do something,
Yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
is exactly, I think, what you're talking about, right? And
Yeah.
as long as you're doing a little something, then it makes it easier.
Yeah, I think we're also talking about habits too, right? So we get into these habits and routines and just kind of default into certain things. And when you're injured, it is so much easier just to sit around. And maybe initially you do have to sit around depending on what your injury is. But certainly it's easier to just keep doing what we're currently doing than it is to do something different and to change. But we have to do something different and change if we don't want to stay where we currently are. And so kind of recognizing that dichotomy and how it pulls on you a little bit of, well, I don't want to be where I am, but change is really hard to do. It's about creating those different habits and new habits. And it's just, maybe it's starting, getting up and taking a walk around the block or something that you would have been like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. All I can do is walk around the block.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you start so that you can run the marathon again someday.
Right.
It starts with a walk around the block because your body was just cut open.
Yeah.
right? Or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's that all or something, doing something and recognizing the something is what leads to all.
Right.
You can't do the all without starting with the something and leading up to that.
And with that comes self-talk.
Absolutely.
Because I can just see this little thought bubble, like, it wasn't enough.
Uh-huh.
Really, you only did this?
Yeah.
Really, Steve? How lame?
Well,
I
and
can
that's
see
where
it.
that's where that growth mindset comes in too.
Yes.
Say it wasn't enough yet. I'm doing what I can now.
Today.
If I do that now, I can do a little bit more or a little bit different or something tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's that progression that matters. So it's not where you currently are that matters, but it's, are you making progress toward where you want to be? It's your trajectory that matters more than your current location and wherever you currently are. Is your trajectory in the right direction? And if it is, then there has to come a point in time when you say, okay, it's not good enough yet, but I'm heading in that direction.
And I think one big thing we need to make sure that we talk about as well is the fact of, it's not about being a professional horse trainer, right? Or being an Olympic level athlete or a world champion. I mean, what we're talking about is stuff that affects everyday people. If you're going to go on a trail ride or, or you're riding your bike or it's general fitness. So, I don't want people to think that we're just talking about, this is elite level stuff. Because it's everybody has those issues to deal with, because, I'm on the other side of it. And, we've helped, like I say, train a horse for, a pair equestrian.
Yeah.
And, and we've had non-pros who didn't care anything about showing at all. Right. But it's just the going out there and doing, which made them feel happy. Right.
Yes.
And like we've said about, with my wife is that, she ran marathons. I ran marathons. I'm gone from point A to point B as fast as I can. She's taking pictures at aid stations and eating fruit and like all those things. Like I cannot relate in my mind how those things. So we just don't work out together because it just doesn't work. So you can be a recreational athlete, right?
Yes.
Or you can just do it for fun, and all these things mentally still come into play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Really, it's about performing at your best, whatever your performance is. And really, life is a performance. So it's really just about living your best life and figuring out how to stop holding yourself back from achieving the things you want to and recognizing that the journey really is beautiful. And yes, it's cliche to say all of those things, but really it is about the journey. Because again, like we can go back to if Lia didn't feel like she was good enough as a human being without this medal isn't going to make her feel like she's good enough as a human being, right? That's a great accomplishment. And she should feel so proud of that and that accomplishment. But she was an incredible person, whether she ever won this or not.
Right. Actually, people have asked me, what's your greatest achievement? And it's not going to the Paralympics. It's not winning the World Championships. It's showing and teaching people that it's never too late. I was elected by able-bodied archers to represent them at the U.S. OPC, United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee, on their board of directors. That's history making.
Right.
The fact that I coach, all those things that will change the life of archers and para archers and kids coming up, that's my biggest achievement. That's just an outcome, a very nice outcome that I'm very proud of and happy, but it is not the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Right.
Not even close.
Right, for sure. And I know we talked about that stuff earlier. Is that it's not who you are.
Exactly.
The trophies and the awards, all those things are just stuff.
Yeah.
And
To me, that's the way I feel it.
Yeah.
I have to feel like I have something to contribute, something worth something to somebody else in order to move forward, or why am I here? So that was why I moved to San Antonio.
Right. And I think that's why we're doing, with the Global Horse Network stuff, right? I mean, we're
Yes.
trying to just give the information,
Exactly.
right? Like, I mean,
This is
I don't want
huge.
to be the guy that necessarily gets self-diagnosed, right? Of why these things are the way they are,
Right.
but it's just truthful. I mean, and I'm not the
Yes.
only person that it's ever happened to,
Nope.
and that you just got to understand, right? That those are the pitfalls with
And
existence.
that's huge. Nobody's done that before, and you're doing it.
Well, I mean, we're trying. We're trying
There you
trying
go.
to do our part. It's not all about horse training because there's lots of stuff that goes on behind the scenes.
Yes.
You see, whenever you see the covers of the magazines and you see the people with the TV shows, I mean, you just see whatever it is, that little short period of time, but you haven't seen all the work that's come the
Yes,
years prior
that's
to,
right.
right? The triumphs or the tragedies or,
Right.
the life issues or things that's come that way. You just see that one little snippet, right? And that's what everybody chases, right? Is that little
Right.
snippet of what it is rather than all the cool stuff that happened with getting there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like I said, we, talking earlier on the earlier segments, and I've always been fine with whatever happens because I understand that, they say there's no I in team, right? But there is, right? It's in the A.
Well,
You know
there's
what I mean?
also an M and an E.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like I've always been able to accept the fact that if I make the choice, which is why cycling is a team sport, but I did a lot of individual things because
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the guy on the team if you sucked, right? That I have to be mad at you because you sucked, right?
Yeah.
If we lose, I want to lose because of me, not because of you, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if that makes a difference to a lot of people because there's lots of people who like to have the team atmosphere and all those pieces that go with it, and they like to share those things. And whether it's that you're selfish or whatever it may be, like I just never been that guy, which lend itself to training horses and doing triathlons or running and doing those things because if I sucked, it was because of me. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't put in the time or I didn't put in the miles or I didn't ride the horses. I didn't do those things.
you
So
were
I was the one,
Yeah.
I was the one to blame for it. And, like we talked about a little bit earlier, it's the same with, I mean, I know I'm my own worst enemy and, I do those things because I don't, contrary to what I always think, right? I don't always have the best ideas, right?
Yeah.
And everybody can have an opinion, but ultimately I have to make the final decision, good or bad. But I've always been able to live with those consequences because it was me, right?
'Cause it was you.
And there's lots of people that can't do that because it's easier to pass the buck,
Yes.
right? And blame somebody else. And I mean, I've tried myself. I've always tried to be, at least take good or bad. I mean,
Accountable.
take
You're
yes.
accountable for
Yeah,
the outcomes.
Yeah. I mean, and Lord knows, I mean, I've made a bunch of bad decisions, and I've made a bunch of good decisions, but probably a lot of the good decisions have been by accident. You know what I mean?
Give
It's-
yourself a little more
I was
credit
going to
than
say
that.
it's
Yeah.
subconscious, maybe.
But
not
I mean,
by
but you put the pieces in place so that hopefully it works
Yes.
out, right? And
Yes.
I think talking about the psychology of things and how all our pieces go together is that people talk about the mental toughness and like thinking outside the box, and
Yes.
like I always hated that term, right? Like thinking outside the box because like
Because you color in the lines.
I just think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I think
Right.
that's the difference. Is like you just think. I mean, like if somebody's doing this, like why can't it be that? Or
Right.
what if it was
Yes.
this? And it doesn't make it. I mean, maybe it's not socially acceptable to everyone, but I just think why can't?
Why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Or
that's
What
the
about
thing.
why not
Exactly.
me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and-
how things get invented and new things come into
Yeah,
this
yeah.
world. And
But I think we get trained right to go down that path, right?
yeah,
And nobody gets to think outside. I mean, because it would be the same thing if you show up and say, "Hey, let's do para reining." Cool. You're down the road. Let's figure it out.
yep.
Okay. Is it going to be the same as it was, for the other lady or this guy? No.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, you know what we'll do? We'll figure it out, right? Because why not?
What you're talking about is something that I call intentional rebellion. So that started with me really, really young. So when I was born, on my birth certificate, my dad's occupation is inmate at the penitentiary. So that was my beginning
Oh,
in life.
right.
So by the time I get my mom was illiterate. Both of them are actually. So I get to kindergarten, the teacher, we're supposed to pick our name out. I don't know what my name looks like. I pour you a brandy old fashioned, but I have no idea. And she went, "Shh, here we go." That day, became the day that I took what was going to happen to me in my life to me. And my achievements, my overachievements, were the biggest
Right.
that I could have done. It was intentional rebellion. And what you're doing, like people say, oh, we'll do this. And you're like, well, what if we do this? That's intentional rebellion. You don't just rebel to be, a pain in the rear. It's like, no, I want to check that out, or I want to check that out. It's not a bad thing. And I think more people outside the box, I know you hate that word, but outside the box thinkers, what we're really doing is leading a rebellion to quit putting things in boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because
We don't fit in boxes.
Right. I'm assuming, right, is that a lot of the rings that you have, right, for these national champions and stuff. I mean, they're probably not all number one seeds going in, right?
Oh, no.
I mean, and all those things, but they kept doing the work, right? And it's the same as with showing and being the non-pro and all those things. Like if you just show up, do the work, then those things come your way. Whether you call it luck, right, or paying your dues, or whatever it may be, you've put the time in. That eventually those things come around to pay.
And you have to believe that. You have to believe that it'll pay off, because it took me years to be able to hold my attention for 7 seconds, which is how long it is to get a shot off.
Right.
And there were people that doubted me from the very beginning.
Well, congrats on 7 seconds.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
That's a lot.
7 seconds. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's really what it is about mental toughness training too, is you have to put the time in, you have to put the reps in. It doesn't just happen overnight, because we've had this conversation. You have to be very deliberate about the things that you're thinking and when you're thinking them and how you're thinking them. And there is no one size fits all in this either, right? It's really about, you come to me with one thing, and maybe it's confidence, and you come to me with confidence, and it's two very different ways to get there, because you're two very different people. So it's figuring out what works for you, even if it doesn't look like the normal way to do it, right? Everyone has their own method and their own ways, and part of my job as a mental performance coach is figuring that out for each person, and what's it going to look like for you, and how can I get you there, and then encourage you to continue doing the reps so that eventually you're there. And this is something probably that a lot of horse trainers don't think about, is you are building your mental toughness or your mental weakness every single time you're out in the barn. Every single time you're out with those horses, you have thought processes and patterns that go on with everything you do physically. The question is, are you building mental toughness while you're doing that? Or are you building up this concept of not being confident when you're showing? Are you building up this concept of not being able to perform when things get tough? Because your thinking and those patterns become habitual. And that is the mindset you will take with you if you're not careful about it. And so a lot of people are doing it the wrong way and thinking incorrectly, and not even thinking about it, not recognizing that. And too many times I've seen too many athletes in too many sports say, well, I'll just turn it on when it comes game day. Awesome. If you know how to do that, fantastic. But if you're not training it, don't expect it just to happen on game day. Right? So it's really about that deliberate, intentional training, just like you do physically, just like you're training the horses, you got to train your brain as well.
Right. So, do you have, obviously you have a business, right? Headstrong.
Yep. Headstrong Consulting.
Is there some way that people can get in touch with you, right? As far as for coaching and being able to talk, right? Today I got the benefit of 2 champions, right? Getting to spill my beans, right? And kind of get this thing figured out. But, that they can get a hold of you to set up a program or be coached, or, how would that work for somebody being in the, the horse world? How would they get in touch with you, and what kind of how would that go?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So you can find us online. Our website is headstrongconsulting.com. And you can actually schedule with us online. It's not just me. There's several of us within the practice. You can go on and schedule online. Our first session's totally free for all individuals. Like, just sign up. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. We do Zoom calls. We have virtual trainings. And it's really just an opportunity to get to know each other, sort of like we've done here today, and to see if we're the right fit for you. See if we're people who are able to help you through whatever it is. So you can check us out at headstrongconsulting.com, but we're also on Facebook at Headstrong Consulting. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram and TikTok at Headstrong Team. And I also, if you're interested in this, we have a podcast and I have a book. So there's a lot of places you can find us. But our podcast is called Becoming Headstrong. All episodes are less than 10 minutes. They're quick tips and tricks for how to improve your mental toughness. A lot of what you've heard today, but there's a whole plethora on there. We have over 400 podcasts now, so you can find a lot of different things that you might be looking for. That's called Becoming Headstrong. And then my book is called Don't Leave Your Mind Behind. And you can find that on Amazon or even at the website at headstrongconsulting.com.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It was.
But I have to say thank you to you for being vulnerable in this, because you put yourself out there and talked about things that a lot of people aren't willing to say out loud. And I think that your bravery and being vulnerable and doing that is going to help a lot of people see that their thoughts and their fears and their struggles are not as unique as they might think. That other people, even big timers, can feel that way sometimes. And I think even just you talking about that can help a lot of people recognize that what they're going through is it's okay. Like, it sucks, but it's normal. It's okay. You can get through it.
Right. What about you, Lia? What wares are you hawking?
Nothing.
Nothing. No, you can't come on here and not hawk anything.
All over on TikTok, though.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
So, give us the
So
rundown of you.
Instagram, I think my Instagram is Lia Coryell at Instagram. And my TikTok is WIRCHR. That isn't wheelchair. It's Wisconsin Archer. It doesn't say wheelchair, but I just looked on the Texas thing, and I think I have to change it now to TXRCHR, which is Texas Archer.
There you go. Yeah, and welcome to Texas.
Thank you.
3 days.
Yeah.
3 days. You getting melted down with 100 degree temperatures.
Exactly, and now I know how they get their cowboy hats to stick on.
sure,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
I got some insiders.
Secrets. It's got secrets now.
I got it. I know who did
So
it.
whenever you start riding Rainers,
Oh yeah, I got 101
Come on.
problems. Falling off a horse is not gonna be one. I sold my Harley for a reason.
yeah, well,
Yeah, but thank you, and thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I appreciate it. I'm glad we had the conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily want to come across as vulnerable, right?
Oh, no, that's a good thing.
But
That's a
you know,
positive
I mean,
thing.
it is the sad truth, right? It's the sad truth and reality, and take with it. If it helps you out, great. It's just. I mean, we've been there, done it, and sometimes it just happens. And
Yeah.
Well, it's part of being a leader. If we don't talk about the hard stuff along with the good stuff, how are we leading the next generation?
right.
And it takes a lot more strength to be vulnerable than it does to just shove it down and pretend like things are just fine. So
I mean,
that's mental toughness.
Well, and I think right today, before we completely wrap it up, right, is the problem we have, right, is the social media aspect of things, right? Because you're judging your worth and your abilities off of somebody's, 2 seconds, 2 minutes,
Yes,
whatever it
right.
may be.
That's right.
Right? I mean, and anybody can look good for a couple minutes.
That's right.
Right? And, so I think that's the bad thing, because now you get,
I'm looking good for
look
a couple
better with a
minutes.
hat.
Yeah.
Right? We tried that earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Her,
didn't
she had
quite
too many brains, her head was too big.
Didn't quite fit. It's like,
So, yeah. But
Okay.
social media is as good as it is just as bad. It's just as bad.
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. That's
Exactly.
absolutely true.
Yeah, I tried to be the open and honest about my challenges too, and then some people take that as looking for pity. I'm like, no, girl, I'm just keeping it real.
Right, right.
I got no need for pity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you how it is.
For sure.
So yeah, I think we do need more of that, and I am seeing more of that.
Yeah, me too. And it's really great. It's very refreshing to
Yes.
see people just be real, just being themselves.
Right.
Yeah. Flaws and all. Be flawsome.
Awesome. That's a good one.
Flawsome.
That's a good
Accept
one.
your flaws.
Right.
There's a
Flawsome.
hashtag.
Yeah,
Be
for sure.
awesome.
For sure.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
gonna send it back over. We're gonna let her close it out. Hopefully you enjoyed the 4, 5, 6,
Four?
however many segments we did.
Afternoon,
right?
yeah.
Yep. On mental toughness and kind of how it works for you or doesn't work for you. Everybody's individual, so there's lots of different ways. And if you need to get in touch with Nicole, we'll have her information in the description with the link to it, and she'll be glad to help you out and coach you down that path. But remember, whatever you're going through, somebody else has probably already been there. So might as well get the advice if you can. So
Yep.
Yeah.
go ahead and wrap us up.
Awesome. I mean, all I would say, a couple of things just to wrap it up. I mean, mental toughness is one of those buzzwords, keywords that people talk about all the time. It doesn't mean that there's an absence of a mental illness. It doesn't mean there's an absence of struggle. It doesn't mean an absence of adversity. It just means that you're working on pushing through and you're choosing that triumph. You're choosing your journey. You're choosing your story. And people don't necessarily come to see us because they have problems. They come to see us because they recognize that they could do life a little bit better, and they just want some ideas for how to do that. And so that's really, that's the world we live in. So thanks for being here with us today and being a part of it, because it's been really fun. And hopefully you guys can all go be your flawsome selves.